guys, welcome to my A to Z project pan update number 2. Today we have some major changes and we have a few little updates. So we're gonna get started. Before I begin, if I had hit pan in like my previous update, I'm just gonna skip over those. Like skip over, I mean like I'm gonna say it, but I won't go into detail because if I hit pan I'm not using it again. So for A, I had the 35T palette another round. This month I used it twice. It has a little dip going, not too much. I'm gonna compare it from last month to this month. I'm not gonna compare it from the first update because that's too much pictures. For B, we had Be Wild from the Stitch and Wet n Wild collection, and I had hit pan already. So for C, we have Classy and Sassy from the Chocolate Gold Bar palette. This month I used it 2 times. It has a little dip. For D, I have the Daisy Marquez palette in the shade Daisy, and I actually hit pan on it. I used it 1 more time this month, so it took me 3 times to hit pan on Daisy. For E, I have the Prism palette, and it's in the shade Eternal. This month I didn't use it at all, so I have no progress on it. It's still the same as last month. For F, I had First Defense from this Distortion palette. I also didn't use this 1 time, though I also have no new progress. For G, I had the Burn Book in the shade Gruel. I also did not use this at all, so no progress either. For H, I had Holiday, and we hit pan already, so that's no progress. For I, we're back with Icy from Daisy Marquez, and I've used this 6 more times this month. I have a pretty big dip going, but still no pan. I think I should hit this month. I'm gonna try and use it this month. For J, we just had the Mean Girls Profusion and Jealous, and we already hit pan on that already. For K, we have Kiwi in the Fruity Smoothie palette. I've used this an additional 2 times, so we have a bigger dip. Oh, I did not know I had a plastic still. For L, I had Lucid in the Daisy Marquez palette. I used it an additional 3 times and I hit pan. So I just have 1 more shade in this palette, and then this palette came out of it completely. For M, I have Moneybags from the Chocolate Gold, and I used it 1 more time this month, so making it 2 times in total, so it's not any like significant. For N, we have New Wave in the Subculture palette. I used it 1 time this month, and so there's no significant change. For O, we have Obsidian, and I've used it an additional 5 times to hit pan. It took 12 times to hit pan. For P, I have my Puree from my Sweet Peach palette. I've used it an additional 2 times this month, and still no pan, but I have a big dip, so I'm gonna try and work on that this month. For Q, I have Queen in the Jaclyn Hill palette. I used it 1 time this month, making it 2 times in this whole project, so not any big change. For R, it was Rosie Hayes in 35i, and I hit pan already, so we're gonna skip over that. For S, it was also in the 35i palette, and it's Spellbinding, this top one here. I didn't use it any additional time this month, so no change. For T, we have Throne in the Prism palette. I also didn't use this at all this month, so no change either. For U, we have Umber the Sun in the Milani Ungilded Most Loved Mattes palette. This month I used it an additional 3 times and still no dip or anything. For V, we're in Vacation with the Best Life palette. This month I used it an additional 1 time, but no change. Okay, now for W, I have the WT Fuchsia from the Smashbox palette. This month I didn't use it any, and this is actually a palette that I'm deciding to declutter, so I'm gonna have to choose a new shade for this because I absolutely hate that shade, and like I don't use the palette at all, so I want to give it to somebody else or throw it away, I don't know. But yeah, I'm gonna be putting a new shade in for W. For X, I have Express from the Fade Into Hue palette, and this month I used it 1 extra time and I actually hit pan on it, so it took 3 times in total to hit pan. The baby pan, but it counts. For Y, I have the yellow in the Zulu palette. This month I used it 3 extra times and still no progress. It barely has a dip. I don't know, this was taking forever. And for Z, we're back in the Fade Into Hue with Zygote, and this month I used it 3 times, no dip or changes, anything. It's also gonna be a long while. Then as like my extra like pan that palette stuff, I have my Modern Renaissance palette. So last month I wasn't tracking like progress, I was just trying to see if I could finish up anything, and I didn't. So this month I decided to track my progress. Vermeer I used 3 times. When Fresco I actually finished, so that's completely out. It took me 3 times to use it. palette. Antique Bronze I used 1 time. Love Letter I used none this month. Raw Sienna I used 2 times. Red Ochre I also didn't use any. And Warm Taupe I used 3 times. So this is what the palette's looking like. I'm gonna keep taking track of this palette also. I'll focus on Warm Taupe just because I was already using that the most, so I might as well focus on that one for this month. As for my Desert Dust palette, that was not the case at all. I don't think I even picked this up. So I'm just gonna go like this. So this whole top row I did not use at all except for Oud, and Oud I only used 1 time. Then I used Twilight 2 times. That was my focus shade, but I didn't use it enough to hit pan. And then Amethyst I used 1 time, and then everything else I did not touch. So I did really bad on this palette. I don't even know what shade I do want to focus on because I don't think I will. I don't know, I just want to get more use out of this palette. So I'm just gonna say this month I used 3 shades. As long as I use 4 shades this month, I'll be okay with that. So like I said, I'm taking out the W from this palette, so I need to put in a new W. I decided on the Fruity Smoothie palette in the shade Watermelon because it's also pink, and I didn't want to pick out a whole new palette. I already had too much palettes anyways, so yeah. So yeah, that's the new shade I'm gonna be working on, rolling that one out. This month I want to focus on Icy. I want to like pan that one. I think I'm really close to. I also want to pan Puree. I think I'm really close to also. And then I said I wanted to use 4 different shades in the Desert Dust palette. And Modern Renaissance I just want to work on Warm Taupe. That's what I think we're gonna focus on, and I'll see you guys in my next update next month, April 1st.